All right. Here we all right, Luther Dupree, Mike Vick. We had TyGray on. We're going to try to Skype him in. But before we do that, we want to go, who is TyGray L? Can we run that clip real quick?
And show you the treat we have coming for you, Pittsburgh. He's one of the most dynamic speakers I've ever heard in my life. And you know I love to speak, but when this brother's around, I have nothing to say. I'm all ears. So who is TyGray L? And give us a minute to come back to you live.
To all of the black women here at Union Temple
TyGray
Baptist
L,
Church.
the minister of poetry, delivers plain and simple.
George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, and all those guys who were here on that decision.
He delivers high voltage, clear and concise content that culturally enriches and spiritually enlightens all who are within earshot of this mesmerizing distributor of the spoken word.
And the first thing that hit me is my grandmother and mother who raised me. They told me two things you do not do. You do not whistle.
The native Washingtonian has been writing for over 40 years since he was age 7. And some say his original slave narratives and essay observations are the actual breath of our ancestors coming through eternity. He has presented to companies and organizations from A through X, literally ARRP to Xerox Corporation. His resume reads like an encyclopedia. He has received standing ovations for his performances from audiences both large and small from across the country, from historical black repertoire theater to Berkeley, California, to the Capitol grounds here in Washington, D.C. He has been written about from the Oakland Morning News to the Washington Post and has been given nicknames like the Record Book, Moses, the Hurricane, Pure Truth, the experience of the voice of our ancestors. Dewey Hughes, founder of WOL and Radio 1, says, Ty is not to be defined. He is to be experienced. Clayton LaBeouf, actor of The Wire, Homicide, Life on the Street, and Something the Lord Made, said, our ancestors have found a vessel through which to speak. His name is TyGray L.
That's TyGray L. Let me hear you say what we've been saying all night.
Right, and that was our special guest who we're going to have on, TyGray L. We're trying to get him in just a minute. We're going to Skype him in. Whenever he's ready, just put him through. But you've been knowing him a long time, Mike Vick. Just tell the viewing audience a little bit about Ty. I mean, we saw a little piece there, man.
Let me just tell you how blessed I am to know this brother personally. He's back, so okay. I'm not going to even talk too much.
Yeah, anyway, let's bring him in.
He's here, so no sense of me talking about him. That you hear for yourself. He's back.
What's up, guys?
Greetings, my brother.
Hey, what's up, Ty?
The vessel. Our ancestors found a voice to speak, and it is TyGray L. Well, I'm happy. You don't know how happy I am to see you, man. I look for this day, and here it is.
Well, I want to just say I'm appreciative of you guys and the whole Pittsburgh nation, and I'm just grateful to be here, man, and grateful to my ancestors, brother, because what they went through in order for us to be standing here on this, what is this, the 18th day? What is this, the 19th day? 18th day of January in 2019. Do you know, brother, we came here in 1619 in chains.
Wow.
And 400 years later, I'm here talking to you brothers. Do you know what a blessing it is? Do you know how strong they had to be in order for us to be here? I'm just grateful. I'm just eternally grateful.
Yeah.
Well, I am too, brother. Man, I just want to let you know, beside your lovely white sand, I am your biggest fan, my man.
And rhyme. And Mike, you know what, man? You're a true poet, brother, because you always rhyming,
But
brother.
listen,
Right.
if it don't make, if you got to make sense to get dollars, so I'm trying to make sense with this thing.
Always a pleasure, Ty. Thank you so much.
Hey, but please, Ty, I want you to know, I think I told you, you one of the most requested guests that we've had on this show. I mean, I had brothers call me, tell me, man, he was fantastic. Get him back again. So I know you have quite a bit on your schedule. We want to thank you for being here. Tell us some of the things that you're doing now, man. Share some of that work with me, what you're doing. So I'm excited just to hear what you've been doing.
Well, my newest project is this right here. It's called Televised Devolution.
Okay.
Televised Devolution is a short compilation, poetic compilation of some of my newest pieces of poetry. It's about 70 pages. It's not really that long. It's really just a poet's rendition of different things that I feel like is going on in society today. And I have a brand new CD that's coming out.
Okay.
10 track spoken word audio CD is actually being put up, and it's being nominated for a spoken word Grammy. So I don't know how far that's going to go.
Okay.
But your support and your support will help it go a little bit further. So what it is just basically that I wrote a piece called Televised Devolution. You guys remember Gil Scott-Heron?
Oh yeah, I remember.
That go without saying to me, I ain't.
So Gil Scott-Heron wrote a poem, and the piece was so profound. He said the revolution will not be televised.
Yes.
He wrote that way back in the 70s, right? Over 30 years ago. And so I got to thinking a few months back, the revolution will not be televised, but devolution is streaming right before our eyes. So here it is. It's quick. It's not long. I'll just share it with you. It said the revolution will not be televised, but devolution streams right before our eyes. Warmongers, usurers, blue-blooded kings, barbarians promoting violent things. ABC, NBC, CBS, Fox, Westworld robots on a home office box, airing dark forces with civil unrest, scandals encouraged, 'cause Father knows best. Instructions on murder and how to get away, and Lifetime aired 8 homicides today. CNN pundits telling true lies while Netflix streamed presidential alibis. Stars and AMC2 Dexter on Showtime with a blood-splattered clue. OWN extolling the haves and have-nots. Hallmark presents kidnapping plots. TMZ, BET, MTV all broadcasting imminent social downfall. Walter White, Breaking Bad, Walking Dead. Powers got drug-addicted ghosts widespread. There are 13 reasons why you better call Saul. True Blood and Stranger Things lurking round the mall. There's Oscars and Emmys and Golden Globes and Grammys and Tonys and sequin gown robes. There's Veep, Modern Family, This Is Us. Apprentice got trumped up tweets we don't trust. Greenleaf's got pastors womanizing. Big Brother's watching while Queen Sugar's rising. There are crooks on the blacklist with white gangsters named Red and remote control networks programming our heads. Lucifer, Gotham, and Cookie's Empire. There are lethal weapons and Chicago fires. There are games of jeopardy, contestants with criminal minds. There are family feuds with Shark Tank designs. There's South Park, The Simpsons, and Futurama, all cartoon predictions of toxic karma. Winter is coming. It's all a Game of Thrones. You can catch the finale on the newest iPhone. It said the revolution will not be televised while devolution streams right before our eyes.
You heard it from the vessel.
Man,
Did he tough?
that was bad.
I remember when I first came to Pittsburgh, and I had the pleasure of telling people about TyGray. Man, and people like, what? I said, yeah, brother, if you ain't heard him, you really get the black woman's smile. So that was my introduction to him. But I've been blessed to hear so many things this brother shared with me. Like I tell you, I'm like a kid in the candy. So when he called me, I'd be like, my eyes closed, and I can just see like a movie.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't know exactly what he's going to share with me today. That's totally up to him. But I just want y'all to get full like I get full off this brother, man.
Yeah, that definitely was power.
He's
You hit
powerful.
everything on that one. Black Woman's Smile is, of course, my favorite one, but I think that one might have came up to number 3. I mean, but everything you've done has been so powerful, man. But that was strong. I mean, especially today's day and age.
Well, in talking to Ty, what I must say is that when we talk about his family, his grandmother was such an important, played a role in his life. And she, and he did it, my mama said, and that's one of my favorite. But anybody, brother, whatever you feel like doing, just give the Pittsburgh audience some more of the vessel. I expect.
Well, my grandmother was a Garveyite. My grandmother was born in 1910.
Mine
so
too.
Marcus Garvey was prominent in her life.
Okay.
And she believed in what Marcus Garvey said, do for self, believe in yourself. You don't have to depend on a European. You don't have to depend on a capitalistic society. You can do for yourself. And she instilled all those things in me. And she instilled all those things in my mother. And so my mother, she would always teach me about Afrocentrism. And I was born and raised in the first all-black public assisted housing project in the United States, a place called Langston Terrace. And it's about 40 blocks from the White House. And I lived literally over top of the Langston Library. So my mother used to make me go to the Langston Library. And so Langston Hughes got into my veins and so all of that. So my mother, she passed away when I was 25, a long time ago. She passed away literally on December the 13th, 1976. I'll never forget that day because, of course, my mother passed on that day. But I wrote a poem in tribute to my mother called My Mother Said, which, Mike, you're talking about right now.
Yes, sir.
It's one of my favorites. My mother said she was African. No matter where she stood, you could take her. Wait a minute. Hold on a second. Because I haven't done that poem in a while, and I have to just wait. Let me bring it back into my memory banks. It said, my mother said she was African. No matter where she stood, you could take her feet off African soil, but you couldn't take her African good. My mother said her mother was the mother of civilization. You could take her name. You could cause her shame, but you couldn't take that salutation. My mother said I was royalty, crown prince of the motherland. Said I wasn't considered much over here, but back home I was truly grand. My mother said my melanin is a gift and I should be proud. She said darkness of hue is God's gift to you, your personal protective shroud. My mother said my hair, like Samson's, represented strength. She said one shouldn't hide their race pride because the power's in the lock, not the length. My mother said many things, and most I put on a shelf, but one thing is clear. I can still hear, son, learn to love yourself. My mother said Jesus was African. She said Noah was African. She said Moses was African. Look nothing like Charlton Heston. My mother said everybody from the islands was Africans. Dominicans, Africans. Puerto Ricans, African. Jamaicans, African. She said everybody on this planet came from Africa originally. My mother said many things, and most I put on a shelf. But one thing is clear, I can still hear, son, learn to love yourself.
Wow.
That's what my mother said.
Man, that's powerful. And I don't know if you see, Mike knew it word for word. And that still just is amazing to me. Mike's been trying to get me to memorize one of his poems. And I'm like, man, I don't know how you all have thousands and thousands memorized.
Well, we don't have a thousand.
Well, it seems like it to me, because I'm trying to learn one, and I'm struggling with that one. But you gave me your technique, and you said Ty has a technique. I said, man, it's amazing to me how you guys keep all these poems in your head and can just bring them back to your memory banks just like that. I mean, that's just, I'm going to get there one day, Mike.
Well, one of the greatest things that this brother ever said to me when we first met, and this was very early on, he said, brother, we have kindred spirits. And, I was just excited. I wasn't nowhere near where God has placed me now. But where I will like to say publicly, and I've told him this a number of times, I've gotten where I am now because of this brother. Because he's so humble, he's so great at what he does. It's like a spotlight that shines in front of me. And first thing I like, he's also great enough as a friend to me. When I'm leaking, he let me know I'm leaking. And so I might write something and put it out in the universe, and it's not right. He left me. He said, brother, no, he said, brother, I love you, man. He started like that, brother, I love you, man. He said, but man, you a wordsmith. And that's it, man. They're using the wrong terminology, man.
Okay.
We got to get it right. And but he had helped me so much. But the main thing is that the contents of what he's saying is so important for us to understand that, because the contents of what he says and the conviction that he lives this. And I understand that now. Like I said, it's a certain spot that I'm in. It's imperative that we tell the truth about who we are. And this brother does it better than anybody I know.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
It's
imperative, man. We do. We have to be, especially with the leadership or the so-called leadership that we have that's supposed to be governing right now. It's imperative that we be completely honest and completely transparent.
Right.
And we focus on those principles that our ancestors developed and allows us to stand on their shoulders.
Yes.
Because those are principles. And if those principles weren't solid, if they weren't a solid foundation, then we would crumble. But because they are a solid foundation, we don't have to worry, man. You know, these people who are putting orange makeup on and all that stuff, and we don't have to worry about them, because even though we walk through the valley of the shadow of death, we don't have to fear that evil, because we know God is with us. Yes. His rod, his staff comforts us, and that's a true bill.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Hey, man, I got so much stuff, but it's something I never shared with you guys, and it's very controversial. But controversy is really the order of the day.
Yeah,
and
especially now.
I wrote this piece a long time ago. When I was 12 years old, I wrote a formal letter to the Catholic Archdiocese because I was born. My mother and father were in the Catholic Church, and they tried to make me go to the Catholic Church, and I went there for 12 years.
Okay.
And in my 12th year, I think my 13th year, in my 13th year, I was 12 years old. I kept asking the priests and the pastors and the nuns and all of those folk in there, where's Jesus after he turned 12? Because I keep reading this stuff, but there's nothing in there about him after he turned 12 years old. And I'm saying I'm getting ready to be 13, and that's the age that Jesus. Where is he? What? And so nobody could tell me anything. I asked the deacons. I asked the reverends. I asked the nuns. I asked the priests. I asked everybody, and nobody. They told me this. This is what they told me, Luther. They said, we have everything we need to know about Jesus. God gave us everything we need to know. And you don't need to know anything more. You don't need to study anything more but what we gave you. And that just didn't sit right with me. You know what I mean? And so this piece that I'm about to share with you guys, this is a very short piece, but it is among the most important information that we can receive as a people in this 21st century, because they lied about Jesus. They told us Jesus was blonde-haired and blue-eyed and so-called fair-skinned. That's what they told us. And that was an alternative fact.
Way back
That
then.
was not the truth. And the reason why it is so important is because, so I was talking to my wife, right? And this is important, guys. So I said, why do you think they would go to such great lengths as to change the ethnicity of Jesus? If Jesus was born in a land that actually born in Africa, and when he ran from the authorities at that time that were trying to kill him, he went into another part of Africa. So he was born in Bethlehem of Judea, which is Africa, and he escaped into Egypt, which is Africa. And that whole area, if you study the Pangea, is African. Why would they go to such great lengths as to make him a European? Why would they do that? Right. And I just wrestled with it. So I wrote this little short poem. And I know Mike loved this poem, but it's very controversial. I can't. Now, as the poet laureate, as the first poet laureate in the 200-year history of the African Methodist Episcopal Church, I still can't even share this poem there because they ain't ready for it.
They ain't ready for it.
That's right.
But I know your show is ready for it.
Oh yeah, we're definitely ready.
So
18 years. So Luther, ask me this question. I wrote this poem called 18 Years. I wrote this poem called 18 Years because if you look at the Bible, from Genesis to Revelation, Genesis to Malachi is the Old Testament, they talk about Jesus coming.
Right.
Prophesied about Jesus coming. He's on his way, he's on his way, he's on his way. Matthew to Revelation talk about Jesus being here. 27 books, 39 in the Old, 27 in the New. But in those 66 books, there's not one thing written about Jesus after he turns 12, up until the time he turns 30.
Wow.
Nothing. 18 consecutive years missing. So I'm going to ask you and the listening audience, what would your life be like at the age you are now if we took 18 consecutive years out of it?
Wow. Yeah.
What would you be? What did you do? What did you develop into? What did you come from? And what did you become? How did you mature? What did you develop into? Why would those 18 years not be important? And for anybody to tell you that those years are not important, they are a bald-faced lie.
Right. Right.
And not your friend, but your enemy. So I wrote this little short piece called 18 Years. Because I really wanted to know what happened to Jesus after he turned 12, man. I mean, come on, man. Single most important person in the history of mankind. Think about it. Jesus' name is repeated more often than any other name in the history of the world.
Right.
How could 18 years of his life be unimportant? And how dare you look at me in the face and tell me it's not important? Are you crazy? So I couldn't get a definitive answer from anyone else. So I wrote this little short poem asking myself, called 18 Years. I searched my soul for the truth to unfold, the mystery concerning the Christ. It said, you, my son, are a victim of one elaborate conspiracy, a heist. Take a good long look at your holy book, prayerfully, carefully observe. Through someone's intention, Jesus is not mentioned. For 18 years, not one single word. Then my soul dictated, it was Jesus, wasn't it, who stated, know the truth, it will set you free. Yet, if 18 years are missing, Somebody did some twisting. Someone didn't want me to see. At the age of 12, he traveled and began to unravel the mysteries of life and death. From 12 till he was 30, he grew strong and sturdy, teaching truth about the holy breath. So the question in my mind, if you would be so kind as to indulge me in my brief bit of glory, why? Why would 18 years of his blood, sweat, and tears be extracted from his holy story? And when the answer came, freedom did reign. It actually set my soul free, for it finally revealed what had long been concealed. Simply, Jesus was a black African like me. I said Jesus was a black African like me.
Amen.
Amen.
Amen. And this, we have the church around here today because we have heard the truth, the absolute truth.
That's the best way to end it. And I see you said the church still won't let you say that one, huh?
Yeah, he the polarity of the church. You know,
I can't do that. I can't do that because they just ain't ready, man. It's just
Right.
like, what? Jesus, what? What are you saying? What?
I don't know if you want to reveal, like you said, the problem that you have as far as the imagery with one of the churches you stopped going to because of the imagery. I think that's important.
Yeah, I think that's definitely important. I had to leave churches because of the images, big, gigantic images. So many of our churches have that. Images are important. If you see that every single day, it affects your mind. So I couldn't continue to bring all my kids around. So we had to leave churches because of that. I just couldn't do that. I needed to have somebody, like you said, that looked like me, or no picture, but not somebody who didn't look like me. But I think that's very important.
But you know what else, Ty? Like I said, I've been privy to so much of your work that you have like church search. That's another one of your religious things.
Yeah.
But Ty has so many dynamic pieces that he shared with me. And he also, at that same church, he had a series he did, Blacks in the Bible. That was a great thing. So
Yeah, because, man, when you look at it, man, a lot of people, and I didn't mean to turn this show into a religious show and it's really not religion at all. What I'm talking about is spirituality.
Right.
But the truth of it is that, man, when you look at it, everybody, the only Europeans in the Bible are the Romans and the Greeks. Everybody else, every person, every personage that they talk about
is black.
Came from Africa. The Romans occupied parts of Africa, which they've always, that's not true. They've not always done it, but for the last 2,000 years, during the time of Jesus is when they first started occupying Africa. And they talk about the Greeks because the Greeks were among the first of the Europeans to become conscious of spirituality and Egyptology and the light of truth that came out of Egypt. But man, it's a whole lot to it. And you mentioned Luther. You mentioned the images,
Right,
brother. That's all we are. That's how they've controlled us. They've controlled us with the images. The images. Image is the root word of imagination.
right.
And out of imagination comes magic. And if you can imagine it, the Magian priest came out of, it's just so much. You know what? It's like in a 1 hour show or a 30-minute show or a 45-minute show, there's so much information that we are lacking and we're missing. So one of the things I'm embarking on, guys, and you asked me, what's on the horizon. I'm actually doing a show that I'm going to be presenting called Breath of My Ancestors Show. The Breath of My Ancestors Show is going to be a show that brings people like yourself on and like yourselves on, and talk about what you're doing to help right this ship and turn this whole thing around. And it's also going to be featuring the historical adventures of Lightning Gray, the cakewalker,
Okay.
And Lightning Gray is a brother who tells all the stories for the last since 1800. He was born in 1800, and he starts telling stories from 1805 up until 2019 because he's lived for 219 years.
Right.
And so and all of these episodic situations that he's been in, restoring the legacy of our people and righting the wrongs of our people and dispelling myths. Like one, Thomas Edison invented the electric light, bald-faced light.
Okay.
Bald-faced light.
Lewis
Latimer. Yeah.
It was Lewis Latimer. It's documented. I mean, the National Archives and the U.S. Department of Patent and Trademarks proved it was Lewis Latimer who invented the light. Wasn't Thomas Edison, but again, he stole it. It wasn't what's that guy? Not Westinghouse, but the other one.
Morse.
Morse?
No. Who Morse? Samuel Morse?
Samuel Morse. That what you
No,
speaking
no,
about?
no, not him. No. The guy with the phonograph. Oh my God, his brain, his name is escaping me. But he didn't invent the phonograph, but they give him the credit. But it was Lewis Latimer. It was so anyway, Lightning Gray dispels those myths. So one of the things that I'm coming with that God has given me to do is to tell these stories about our history. Like one, that it was that it was Benjamin Banneker who was the person who actually laid out the District of Columbia.
Right.
And the nation's capital, if not for Benjamin Banneker, we don't even have the nation's capital. They give the credit to Pierre L'Enfant, who was a Frenchman, who was in bed with the United States at the time. But that's a lie. It was Benjamin Banneker. So it's just so many. Like, for another one is that you guys have all seen, what is that? The Lone Ranger?
Right.
Remember?
Bass Reeves.
Remember the soap opera? So people don't know this, but check this out. The Lone Ranger started on the radio. Because I remember my grandfather, I'm old enough to remember. My grandfather in the 50s, man, in the early 50s, I used to sit at his knee on Saturday nights, and he would drink his little Millers, Miller High Lifes. He would drink his Millers, and I'd be sitting there with some water or some Kool-Aid or whatever I had, wasn't no beer. And he would turn the radio on, and we would listen to these soap operas. And one of the most prominent soap operas was The Lone Ranger. And people don't know that soap operas started, the reason why they call them soap operas, they started on the radio because these storytellers used to come on the radio telling these stories, and they were sponsored by soap.
That's right.
So soap operas came because 20 Mule Team Borax.
There you go.
They promoted Rawhide, and that was a radio show. Dial Soap was another one.
Wagon Train.
Wagon Train, and the other one, Ivory Soap used to promote these different shows, and these shows are like The Guiding Light, and all those shows came on the radio. So my grandfather on Saturday nights, we would sit and listen to The Shadow, which was I can't remember the name of that, but anyway, one of the shows was The Lone Ranger.
Right.
Well, I came to find out, brother, through study later on, that The Lone Ranger was based on a brother. There was a black man that was the original Lone Ranger. The original Lone Ranger was a guy by the name of Bass Reeves, and I challenge anybody listening to go to your Google, your dictionary, whatever search engines you have, and Google Bass Reeves, Bassreeves, Bass Reeves. Bass Reeves was the first black. He was the first black Texas Ranger. He was the first black marshal in the Badlands. So the Texas Rangers that you have now, the first Ranger was Bass Reeves. And check this out. Bass Reeves traveled with a native companion.
Like Tonto.
Yeah.
Look, and Bass Reeves always had a bag of silver dollars, and he always had an Appaloosa horse. And if you look at the spotted Appaloosa, the Appaloosas are mostly silver-looking horses, and they look like they have silver dollars in their coats. So Hio Silver is where that whole thing came from. And, of course, it's my belief, and people argue with me on this, but the reason why they put that black mask on that European
That's it.
is because they knew it was a black man, and they was just, doing what they did. But anyway,
I'm glad you said that. I'm glad you said that, Todd, because ironically enough, the Lone Ranger is playing here in Pittsburgh in the mornings around about 7, I think it's 7 o'clock on this channel, right? And ironically, you said about the black mask because I'm saying they hide in plain sight the truth.
Right.
See, with the black mask, you know what I mean? And then if you remember if the Last Poets had a joint called the Lone Ranger, and Tonto say, I can't tell you on my show what how they do what Tonto say at the end to the Lone Ranger.
Yeah. Well, my point is that I want to bring those kinds of stories.
Okay.
To the public, man. For the black listening audience, yes, but also for the white listening audience, because we just don't know, man. We've been bamboozled, we've been hoodwinked, we've been led astray.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And we don't know. And a lot of people of European extract are great people, good people who just are ignorant. And when I say ignorant, that's not to put anybody down. Ignorant means you just don't know.
Correct.
I've been ignorant for so many years that is incredible. And so, but I'm working on it, man. And that's what we need to do. We need to do everything we can to learn the truth. We've been miseducated. So I want to share this piece with y'all. How much time we got?
Well, if you probably after this last piece,
we have to have you back on.
We'll have to have you back on.
We'll
Man,
finish
time
this
goes
piece.
so quick, but do this last piece for us.
Please do.
Okay, well, Dr. Martin Luther King, and this is important, man. Bless his heart, his birthday was on the 15th just past.
Yes.
We'll be celebrating his birthday this Monday.
Right.
And I've been honored for a long time. They usually celebrate Dr. King's birthday on my birthday.
Wow.
And I'm just honored that that's the same time. And I'm not putting myself in his same light. But
Well, happy birthday, though.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, brother, man. Dr. King, man, was my idol. But he said something, and I followed it with a poem. And he said something that's so important that people don't even talk about. They always talk about his dream and all that. They don't talk about the fact that Dr. Martin Luther King said, and I quote, somebody told a lie one day. They couched it in language. They said everything black was ugly and evil. Look at the dictionary, at the synonyms of the word black. It's always something low, degrading, and sinister. Look at the word white. It's always something pure, high, and clean. But I want to get the language right. I want to get the language so right that everybody here will say, yes, I'm black, and I'm beautiful, and I'm proud of it. Unquote. So I got to thinking about Dr. King's quote. Why would anybody go to such great lengths as to make black cake devil food, white cake angel food? How come a white cat crossing your path can't be bad luck? Why does it have to be black? How come the worst day in the history of days was a black day? Two things came to mind. One is greed, and the other is envy. So you say, Brother Ty, what would they have to be envious of? And I would say they are envious of your melanin. So let's talk for 2 minutes about melanin. Consider some things, if you would. Let's try and get up under our skin, because there's some things, if you don't know, you should. Melanin, you see, is a primary cause. It's the balm that makes us so smooth. Without it, some folk break spiritual laws. Its absence makes some folk uncouth. Without it, your brain would completely shut down. No rhythm, no rhyme, no dance. Without black melanin, you couldn't hear a sound, and your eyes could never glance. You see, at the base of your brain is the locus ceruleus, where sweet black melanin's contained. And the God of our fathers put plenty in us, but with others he refrained. Your melanin is more than just pigment, you know. Your melanin controls your psyche. It's a gift your creator saw fit to bestow. And why LeBron jumped so high in those Nikes. It's why we run faster. It's why we jump higher. It's why we wrinkle less too. It's why we love stronger. It's why we pray longer, and why we forgive and bless you. You see, melanin enhances all circumstances. It's why we are so spiritual. The lack of it lances, makes evil advances, thinks linear, seldom spherical. Oh, but the blacker the berry, the sweeter the juice. They crave tall, dark, and handsome. It's how we survive such physical abuse, and why we've been held for ransom. So let nobody fool you. I'm here to school you. Your melanin is an asset, and many are they who, if had their way, would sit exactly where your assets. So cherish it. Start right now confessing your love for your built-in tan, and thank God again for the skin you're in. Give him all the praise you can. Thank God again for your melanin.
Amen. Amen.
Amen, amen.
That's another amen moment.
Hey, Ty, always a pleasure, man. You always enlighten us and give us a history lesson. As we close, how can people get in contact with you or find out what's going on and support you even? Do you have a website or Facebook?
Yeah, man. It's Ty's my name, man. TyGrayL.com. TyGrayel.com.
The legend.
TyGrayL.com.
We want to thank you again for being on this show with us, brother. We're looking forward to when the actual the new piece comes out and we can have the.
Oh, come to Pittsburgh, brother.
Oh, you know it.
Come
I know that for a fact, brother.
Can't wait. I can't wait. It definitely is a treat. I'm sure the viewing audience worldwide and locally enjoyed it. Thanks again for everything that you do, Ty Graham. It's just a pleasure.
I appreciate you, man. I appreciate y'all. And let me just tell you something too, Luther. That L, because you called me Ty Gray a couple of times, but the Ty Gray L is significant. Because the reason why it's significant, if you go into your Bible, which I know you appreciate, you will find there are a lot of L's, brother.
That's true.
Michael, Joel, Ezekiel, Samuel. There's Rachel. There's Israel. The EL is significant to the fact that we love God. Okay. So Ty Gray L.
Ty Gray L. I got it right that time.
Important and significant.
Yes, sir.
Yes, so I just want to share that, man, because a lot of people they say, is that a Muslim name? Well, it's a Muslim name, yes. If you go to your Bible.
That's my brother there, ladies and gentlemen.
Ty Gray L, the one and only, the legend. Thank you so much for Mike Vick. Once again, great show. Luther Dupree. Please check us out on the website and check out Ty Gray L. And make sure you see what that brother's up to. And we'll check you out next time. Peace.
Peace, my brother. Thanks again.